Essex, 2 points above the provincial average, the highest that it's been since May. Today, the health unit says that Windsor-Essex is seeing the highest number of hospitalizations because of COVID-19. This as hospitals across the province are ordered to brace for a spike in COVID-19 patients. Ontario Health is telling hospitals to prepare to activate emergency plans immediately. With more now, we're joined by the CBC's Sanjay Maru. Sanjay, how does that all play out here in Windsor-Essex?
Well, Chris, I had a chance to speak with officials from all three hospitals here in the region, and it's clear, Chris, they are all at varying stages of where their updated surge capacity plans are at. Now, hospitals instituted certain measures on the onset of the first wave, but as we continue through this second wave, Chris, hospital officials in this region have varying degrees of concern over their ability to handle capacity as we approach the new year.
What beds are available where in our campus, and how do we make them ready for any admissions that need to come in?
All questions that officials with Hotel Dieu are working out after Ontario hospitals were told to be ready to activate their surge capacity plans. But Hotel Dieu is in a bit of a unique spot since it's currently experiencing an outbreak.
We have 2 units in our hospital that have been impacted by the outbreak, so we're combining those together to create one, and then we're going to do a deep clean of the other one, which then opens up a full 30 beds.
CAFR says there are no concerns about capacity issues since Hotel Dieu has stopped some admissions due to the outbreak. In fact, officials say they're ready to accept patients from other hospitals like Erie Shores Healthcare if needed.
We're definitely challenged right now. We're sitting at 95 to 98% occupancy rates in our hospital.
Kennedy says the current surge capacity plan is similar to what was seen in the first wave, which saw adjustments to the visitor policy and patients sent to other hospitals. But Erie Shores says this time around, they're looking at additional measures, like using its 10 surge beds and building capacity in non-clinical spaces.
But additionally, you have to have the staff to do that as well, right? It has been a long 9 months for staff. There's definitely some COVID fatigue in the hospital. And how do we balance being able to care for our patients and also recognize that the staff have holidays and vacations coming up as well?
You first have an increased number of positives in the community. A trailing indicator is hospitalizations. Then, unfortunately, some of those patients go to critical care. And then, unfortunately, some of those patients tragically die.
Meanwhile, Windsor Regional Hospital says it isn't veering away from its plan to cancel non-urgent surgeries. They say the move announced last week will free up beds heading into the new year. And this morning we had a chance to ask the health unit about the province's memo, particularly if they have been in discussions with area hospitals about it. Dr. Wajid Ahmed saying this morning that they are in weekly discussions with area hospital leaders. However, there has been no discussion dedicated specifically to this memo. Chris.
Thanks, Sanjay. And as you notice there, Sanjay, working from home as we all try and shift the way that we do things during this second wave. The village of St. Clair continues to deal with a large outbreak, 88 cases as of this afternoon. 34 cases are people who work at the facility, 54 are people who live there. They confirmed today that the outbreak has turned deadly. A person at the long-term care home has died. As Jacob Barker reports, some family members left on the outside are wondering what's happening inside.
For families, trying to get a hold of their loved ones has been an impossible mission since the outbreak happened.
I'm assuming there's not enough workers there now, that most of them are sick, and where nobody's able to FaceTime with us. We're trying to find out what's going on. I would have gotten a message, a phone call if my dad would have been tested positive, so we know that's a good thing, but that's all we know.
Lindsay's 78-year-old father has been in the home for the last year and a half, moving from a different home to be closer to family. She says since the pandemic began, from the outside looking in, things seemed fine.
As far as I know, the nurses were doing as much as they could. I don't know if there was any neglect. I couldn't tell you. I wasn't in there.
She says she hoped to learn more from the person at the door when she drops off a gift at the home today. But what she really hopes is she'll be able to see him soon, online, of course.
That would be nice, just to give us the mindset that, he's okay, and I know he's okay.
The home is reiterating today that it's bringing in additional support and it is meeting the needs of its residents As far as asking for resources from other agencies, Hotel Dieu told us that at the moment, they are providing advice to the home based on the outbreak it has seen at its facility. If it or any other agency were to provide resources for the village at St. Clair, it would have to be given as a directive from the provincial government. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
This week we heard about the troubles that the local health unit is having doing contact tracing. City and county officials have reached out to the health unit to offer help by way of municipal workers, but the health unit says those who work there need specialized training to conduct case interviews.
The groups that we have doing that work are basically experienced case and contact people or nursing staff. So I'm not sure if that expertise is out there, but you know, I do recognize that people are wanting to help, and for us right now, it's that specialty kind of service that we're looking for.
Meanwhile, Windsor's largest employer is dealing with COVID-19 cases, but aren't providing specific numbers. In May, Windsor's assembly plant reopened with screening protocols in place. In a statement, the head of communications for FCA Canada says that they are continuing to use the safety measures implemented earlier this year and are encouraging employees to follow the same protocols when outside of work to protect themselves, colleagues, their families, and community. Now, this pandemic's taken a hit on municipal budgets across Windsor-Essex, the city of Windsor, no exception. I spoke with Mayor Drew Dilkens today about the challenges that they face after he announced that the city would get $19 million from the province to help offset this pandemic hit.
What kind of hit has the city of Windsor taken when we look at the financials of the costs of this pandemic?
Well, listen, it's been significant and it's absolutely material, and so you're tracking certainly in the low $50 million range when you include revenue losses, expense increases, and we're thinking of revenue losses, things like no revenue coming from the casino when we're used to receiving about $12 million annually. We're thinking about revenue losses at the airport. When the airport's entirely closed or operating with 2 flights a day, it dramatically increases the amount of money that comes to the city. And we're used to receiving $1 million annual dividend from successful operations there. And then, of course, the unique factor in the city of Windsor is that we operate an international border crossing, which no other municipality in Ontario does. And when you have the border closed, that certainly has an impact. So all of those things put together, in addition to the regular things that cities have to deal with decreased ridership on transit, no one really using the community center programming or very limited use on community center programming and arenas and pools. The revenue side has completely changed. However, the expense side hasn't changed that much because we still have to pay to run pools and keep the ice frozen at arenas.
All the talk about the budget and how everything's been impacted, we've seen some communities in Windsor-Essex already putting their numbers out there. What are you looking at as it relates to what will be that process in the early 2021?
My goal is still to do what I told taxpayers I would do when I ran to be mayor, and that's to keep tax rates low and provide good service. And so that is still the goal and objective, bringing a budget to council that is, we've taken the pen out. We've certainly carved down things that we think that we can manage to live with in the year 2021 to make sure that we're not passing on a big tax increase to residents at a time when they can't afford it. And I feel for those people who work at the casino who have not really worked for the better part of 9 months. And I feel for folks on the third shift at Chrysler who are figuring out what to do and trying to jump into a new career in the middle of a global pandemic. This is very, very difficult. And all of those people who are on fixed incomes. And so what we're going to do is bring a budget to council that reflects the seriousness of the time that we're in, but continues to try and invest in capital. We know that capital is important to people in Windsor. It's certainly important to our overall infrastructure asset management plan. And we know that capital projects create jobs.
As part of my conversation with Mayor Drew Dilkens today, that safe restart funding is also going to the county. Essex County is expecting almost a $1.9 million increase. The municipality of Leamington is $684,000. Lakeshore, almost $900,000 in total. About $24.5 million will be coming to Windsor-Essex. We've got a further breakdown of what municipalities and towns expect to receive on our website. Leamington's Afrio will be merging with another Canadian company, Tilray. The companies say that it will create the world's largest cannabis producer in terms of sales. Now, the merger will create an entity with an equity value of almost $5 billion. The companies say that in the past 12 months, their combined revenue would have been $874 million, would have marked a 17% market share in the Canadian cannabis market. The companies will operate under the Tilray name. There has been a flurry of deals in the cannabis sector recently as companies jockey for position in a fast evolving market. Canadian City is pioneering a new way of helping the homeless. This pilot project takes inspiration from Syrian refugees that landed here in 2015. As Ali Chiasson reports, it brings a whole new meaning to the phrase, "It takes a village."
These are not like homeless people. These are children of people. These are brothers and sisters and sons and daughters. And we need to make sure that they are treated with the dignity that all human beings deserve.
The Spirit of Service pilot project isn't just a fundraising or donation drive. It allows groups of volunteers to sponsor someone who is homeless.
We approached social service agencies working with the homeless to say, who do you feel would be a good fit for this program?
From there, volunteers are trained in the unique trauma that comes with living on the streets. Then they mobilize to secure housing, food, mental health, and employment supports for the person they've been assigned.
I've met Jeff, the person that my team is sponsoring, and hear his story, hear what his goals and aspirations are, and how we as just a group of people can help him to do that.
Karen Charpentier's group was able to find Jeff an apartment for December 1st. He had been living in his truck for the last year. She says the experience has been really eye-opening.
Homelessness is so multifaceted, and I think it needs a multifaceted solution.
The sponsor-sponsee relationship is modeled after the very program which helped the Syrian refugees when they arrived in Canada 5 years ago.
If we could do it there, why couldn't we find a way of being able to help people that were unsheltered? And it was like one of those aha moments that we kind of went, I don't know, why don't we try and see what we could do?
It brings a whole new meaning to the saying, it takes a village. And in Oshawa, it also takes a mayor who knows what it's like to be homeless.
I am so grateful that I was given an opportunity to recover, find forgiveness, and also have an opportunity to be able to truly be sober in my life. I never forget about those days. And in my circumstance, I'm an elected official that has had a lot of brokenness in his life, including the loss of my sister through suicide. Those experiences give me the opportunity to serve differently.
Just 3 weeks into the pilot, the Spirit of Service initiative has helped 4 people get back on their feet through access to care and housing.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if we said, instead of those people, which they used to say about me, smelled bad, looked bad, acted bad, wouldn't it be wonderful if we had a better understanding of some of the struggles that individuals are having?
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Oshawa.
Construction workers have unearthed a rare find in the town of Amherstburg, a relic of the First World War. Dale Molnar now on how a 100-year-old cannon ended up buried under a pitcher's mound in a ballpark.
As you can see, this is a German 77. This is the barrel here in the shield.
This German field gun from the First World War would have been used behind German lines in battles like Vimy Ridge. It first came to the town in 1922, where it was put on display with the cenotaph at General Amherst High School. The cenotaph had to be moved to Centennial Park in 1971 to make way for the school expansion. But the gun was in bad shape, so it was decided to bury it under the cenotaph in the park. The cenotaph was moved again in the late 80s, and a ball diamond was constructed in the park with the gun left behind buried there, until a crew building a new public high school dug it up Monday. The school board donated it to the town.
And have already received communication from a number of military historical organizations that are interested in what we're doing with it and have even offered to help restore it. I mean, the historical significance, I think, just can't be overstated. It is really something.
The town's manager of policy and committees used to run the military museum in Kingsville. He says there aren't many like this around.
During the Second World War, when there was a need for scrap metal, many of the war trophies were actually destroyed to contribute to the war effort. So while there were numerous examples that existed and were spread throughout the country, many of them do not survive. You have 2 local servicemen who died at Vimy Ridge. and one of them receiving the military medal. And so an artillery piece in this town is a nice harkening back to honor those two individuals.
The town still has to decide what to do with the gun and where it will end up. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Amherstburg.
Quite the interesting find. We take a look outside here at what everybody else was digging out today. Some of the snow that fell here in Windsor-Essex. Winter certainly arriving as Colette Kennedy forecasted. She'll join us with details of what's next after the break. But first, we want to show you a look at another story we'll be bringing you. A Canadian will be orbiting the moon in the not too distant future. We hear from an astronaut about why exploring the final frontier is so important. An Alberta house cat got more than it bargained for when taking a peek out of the window. While peering out of the window of its Calgary home, it caught sight of this on the other side, a bobcat. Now, the big cat was caught snoozing for about 4 hours, and then there was a wake-up call from the homeowner's two indoor felines. That's Molly and Mittens. And that is just something beautiful to look at there as you bring in Colette Kennedy. The idea of being so close to something like that, I just, friends of the same species or whatever, but that's like, there are two different animals there.
There are so many times I wish animals could talk or that I knew what they're thinking, because boy, would I love to know what those cats are saying to each other and thinking about this other bobcat. That's awesome.
Oh, absolutely. But the intimidation factor there for sure.
Yeah, nice to have, I'm sure, that glass in between them. Or maybe they think we're all the same. I don't know, you're all felines, but let's go ahead and show you what's going on with our temperatures here. It's been snow, light snow being reported since 11 a.m. this morning. So although not that heavy, but still, it's been continuous, and we still have some tonight and into tomorrow, but the additional accumulations will be on the low side. I'll get to that in just a moment, but let me tell you your temperature at -2. It's -1 right now. Chatham, Kent, we have to factor these winds in directionally, the east-northeast most of the day that we are seeing, but it takes us almost to -10 with the wind chill. So the radar is showing you some of the activity that we're talking about with the light snow that has been somewhat continuous, but I want to show you the broader perspective here. There it gives you an idea. It's kind of trying to make its way into Ontario. Let's broaden it again. This is the monster storm, snowstorm, where in some cases here into parts of Pennsylvania, even over towards northern Jersey, where they're looking at 25 to 40 centimeters of snow before this moves out on Thursday night. And in the Poconos region, that's where they could be even exceeding that 40 centimeters. So we're just getting some of the light stuff as that kind of tags us as it moves across towards the northeastern U.S. and eventually there into the Maritimes. This is what we're looking at for those winds. I want to show you what happens though through the overnight. Watch how they diminish and back off. So those winds will be getting lighter through the overnight. It's going to be a little bit stubborn though, some of this flurry activity. By tomorrow afternoon, I'm taking it away from Sarnia and through London, but I still have that risk, especially the closer you are to the north shore there of Lake Erie, where I think we may see another 2-4 centimeters and highly localized. Around Leamington, there could be a little bit more than that by the time this all ends. It will end, and as it's moving out Thursday night into Friday, the setup looks like we're going to have more significant sunshine. Enjoy that because it'll be gone by the time we get to Saturday. Here are your overnight temperatures then. We're looking at that wind chill of -8. And yes, those temperatures kind of trying to come up a little bit, but this is what we have. The best I could do, putting us at freezing right at 0 for our high for tomorrow. Friday with some of that sunshine, the temperature goes up a little further, and notice those overnight lows quite chilly and those significant wind chills, they're coming back up too. By Saturday though, the system that moves in, because of the temps, it looks like it's mostly going to be some light rain or a bit of a kind of wet mix. Then some drier conditions likely into Sunday, but still that cloud cover there, and a mix comes back into Monday, Chris.
Okay, and it'll certainly be nice to watch those lights tonight with the snowflakes that are down on the drive home.
Oh, so pretty, right?
No, absolutely. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Coming up next, Canada entering deep space. A Canadian astronaut will fly around the moon in less than 3 years if all goes to plan. The federal government has unveiled Canada's role in the next step in space exploration. Salima Shivji has the details.
It may have been 5 decades since this historic step.
One small step for man.
And these views of the moon up close. But the United States is heading back to the moon with its first missions with crews aboard in 50 years. And today, confirmation, Canada will be on board.
A Canadian Space Agency astronaut will be part of Artemis 2. This will make Canada only the second country after the US to have an astronaut in deep space.
In deep space, although not on the actual surface. Artemis 2 is a flyby mission that will orbit the moon for about 10 days, setting the stage for a future landing. The launch isn't until 2023, plenty of time to figure out which Canadian astronaut will get the nod, out of a roster of 4 who insist there is no competition.
Who knows? Nobody knows their space future. So Canada, we have 4 qualified active astronauts. I'm one of them. But the way you have to understand the spirit among the astronaut corps is one of utter collaboration.
The International Corps here in Houston is over the moon excited, I'll say that today, by the prospect of these missions.
I feel like the future is so bright, so many amazing challenges ahead.
So there is a lot to learn. It means that Canada and Canadians will be there to help facilitate all of that new science.
Science like mapping out the moon's surface and studying its water ice. Experiments that will be done from a future lab and orbit station around the moon called the Lunar Gateway. A Canadian astronaut will also be sent there one day, and this country will supply the robotic arm for that station. We have the expertise.
Our investment in Canadarm3 alone is expected to contribute $135 million annually to Canada's GDP, gross domestic product, and create and maintain 1,300 good, well-paying jobs.
Jobs and excitement to travel the fastest and farthest humans have ever gone, deep into space. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Ottawa.
Out of this world, as one of our colleagues keeps telling me, well, that story was on. That's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The Rick Mercer Report is up next. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.